Good morning, everyone, or it's morning here in California. Thank you for joining us today. As you all know, we launched a sub-brand of product lines, Terra about a few years ago, and it's been taking off really well. We have rock sliders, steps, and bumpers. The product line is expanding pretty rapidly, especially for those in the off-road and overland scene. Currently, our applications are Subaru Outback, and we're expanding to the Crosstrek, Toyota Land Cruiser, and even have some stuff for the Ford Bronco. So today we have Mike who's going to be hosting this, and he has two of our product engineers who have played a very crucial role in the development of the and manufacturing of the TerraGuard product line. So I'll hand it over. If you have any questions, feel free to put it in the Q&A chat or the chat, and we'll try our best to answer them. Thank you so much. And also feel free, if you want to send this invitation to anyone else in your organization, just forward them the email that you received and have them click register now. They should still be able to join. Okay. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks, Tierney. Hey, guys, welcome. John Gray. Morning. James Proventure.
Hey, good morning.
How you guys doing?
Doing well.
Trying to stay dry. It's a little wet out here in SoCal. Not so sunny in SoCal. Welcome, guys, and welcome everybody who joined us today. As Tierney mentioned, our TerraGuard product line has been in full force within the last 2 years, but has really started ramping up the last 18 months, particularly at this year's SEMA show. So if you were able to attend this year's SEMA show and you were able to check out the AFE booth, you noticed a couple of vehicles out there, and one of which was our LC250, the Toyota LC250, the R250, also known as the chassis code on the Toyota. But one of the things featured, aside from the intake, the exhaust, of course the Scorcher, we had some sway-away suspension product out on the vehicle. So we had a lot of nice goodies on there. We also kind of had some bolt-ons and some add-ons as well, accessory-wise. And segueing to the TerraGuard line, that is an accessory product line for AFE, for those of you who don't know. And one of the things you may have noticed is the front bull bar on the LC250. So from that, it kind of was spawned from a lot of the bumpers that were coming out for the Subaru platforms. And that's why we got John and James here today. We're going to go a little bit more deeper into the detailed information on not just the bull bar for the LC250, but also the bumpers and some of the other TerraGuard products, and what's coming down the pipe as far as new products and new applications. So let's jump into it. Again, welcome, guys. Thanks again for joining us. So just again, a little quick recap on TerraGuard. TerraGuard products are pretty much a full line of bolt-on accessories, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'll go ahead and question it per person, but just because I love the stereo, you guys are in sync. That's great, but we'll make it simple on you guys. So John, on the TerraGuard line, it started out with the tub rails for the Jeep, and it kind of just blew up from there. What were some of the things that your team was thinking about in developing some of these products coming out?
Well, I think the first thing was basically I had a Subaru, an Outback, and before I bought it, I had a lift kit, wheels and tires, and so the first time anyone saw it here, it was already lifted, had the wheels and tires on it and stuff. And we were kind of looking at some exterior products, so we decided to try to do some bumpers for it. We wanted to get a better, have some better recovery points and stuff on the Outback, as well as a little more protection. So we started with a bumper, and we started with some actual steps, because I always have stuff on my roof of my car. So I was actually looking at steps to be able to get into the or to access the rooftop storage. So we kind of started working on the step, and it kind of led into a rock slider. So it's all just kind of culminated to offering several different products.
So for those of you who do know about AFE, we pretty much develop any product that's on any vehicle that's in our parking lot because it's the easily most accessible to start working on. And as John mentioned, he had the vehicle and is a perfect fit. John's an avid cyclist and outdoor guy, camping guy, overland guy. So when he, like he said, he mentioned that by having his Subaru in the parking lot, uh, the team just kind of just looked at it and said, you know, first thing they noticed on the Subaru, right, was there's no steps. The steps turned into sliders.
Correct.
So that was a perfect segue into that. And the bumpers, what was the thought about coming up with the TerraGuard bumpers for your Subaru?
Well, we were looking to be able to have recovery points on the front of it. They're not that easily accessible for the factory recovery points. So we wanted to move them out front, and we started doing that, and just one thing led to another, and we ended up having a bumper. And then we go, well, let's make it a light bar so we can put lights on it. And then all of a sudden James said, hey, why don't we put a winch on this? And so that night I had a winch, and we were modifying the bumper to incorporate a winch into it.
Wow. Okay. So it started off with one purpose, but it now sounds like it's multi-purpose, like a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
Cool. So on the TerraGuard products, are they more for like off-roading, overlanding? I kind of brought this up in one of our other webinars, and everybody's take on it is a little different. It's all perception, but it's also reality. The difference between like overlanding versus like an off-road. So is the TerraGuard more for like an overlander or for off-road or for both?
James?
Well, it's funny because the off-road marketplace is so diverse that I would not say our TerraGuard product is geared towards a hyper-aggressive King of the Hammers kind of guy who's going to go do extreme off-roading. The average weekender who's going to go do fire roads in his Subaru or go to a remote fishing area and needs to go on unbeaten paths that are, our products are suited for that as well as the overlanding market where there's a lot of product that's being put on roofs. You need a lot of lighting for nighttime. To go out and adventure at nighttime, you need a ton of lighting, and everybody's storing stuff on the roof. So getting rooftop access is part of the key to our sliders and steps.
So let's go back to the bumpers real quick. We kind of mentioned a lot of the products that you guys have developed under that TerraGuard exterior accessory line for AFE. So you got the bumpers, the bull bar, which we also kind of refer to as light bars, rock sliders, steps, tub rail covers. So all of those products that are falling into that family, as you mentioned, James, they're not necessarily for the aggressive off-roader specifically, but for the one who is a little bit more like an all-arounder, correct? Like not just overlanding, but like a little bushwhacking, kind of going in the not so commonly used trails.
I think that our product is geared towards anybody who's an off-road enthusiast, and that includes overlanders and, people are just using their vehicle for recreation. But yeah, they're not intended to be for the extreme off-road guy.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. And with the market, the big shift in the last couple of years towards overlanding, it makes great sense to just migrate towards that and propose newer products. And it seems like the way you guys are going about developing products are more of a practicality or a solution to a problem, I think is what I'm trying to say. So, excuse me, as John mentioned, access to the rooftop, there was no step or easy way to access the rooftop, especially if you have a lifted or leveled SUV or CUV. Not everybody's 6'5" and can just reach up there. You get a little boost up just to get access to that rooftop. And yes, you mentioned, John, that there's a lot of people, more people, not just overlanding, but a lot of people are using like storage and cargo bins and roof racks on top of their vehicles, and they really don't have an access to it. Not everybody's going to slap a ladder on the side of their car. So I think the steps make perfect sense. And by the way, if you haven't checked them out, go on afepower.com, check out the steps. They look like they came from the factory. And again, we're really going to focus on the bumpers today, but those the sliders and the rock guards, the sliders and steps, they really do fit in the stock location without any modification. But again, I'm going to go back into the bumpers. So these products are really targeted, like James mentioned, not so much for the hardcore off-roader, but for anybody who wants to overland and go on off the beaten path. So John, what other vehicle platforms do you guys look at when you're looking at developing the TerraGuard exterior products?
Well, we're looking at all CUVs and SUVs and trucks, but we have to put our focus on something. So we currently we're looking at we've done the Bronco. We're working on got the sliders in process for the Bronco, for the Land Cruiser. We have the full bar done for the Land Cruiser, and we have one that we are in process on for the Bronco. Next, we're going to get the Tacoma and 4Runner. So that one should be coming in the next, probably next quarter to 2 quarters.
Okay. So kind of the same process as fit, finish, somewhat of a solution to a towing point or a recovery point, but also something that you could maybe affix a winch to, but definitely have auxiliary lights.
Yes, it's mainly the lighting.
Okay.
The lighting, being able to put better, easier access mounts, so you can mount shackle mounts to it. It was mainly to get the shackle mounts out there and have a light bar, something with a little more protection on the front of the vehicle.
Yeah, hence the bull bar, cow catcher, bumper, etc. So yeah, that was kind of like one of the questions I had on here. So why the bumpers? And it sounds like it was more for auxiliary lighting, but there's also some other options and features that are on each bumper available for these vehicle applications. So lighting obviously is a big portion of it, but also protecting the front end. So on the bull bar that we're looking at right now, Tierney's got up on the shared screen. So what are some of the features in Benny's of the LC250 bull bar? Nice piece.
Well, it's kind of already gone over. You can the lights, we can put got several mounts for lights. The shackle mounts, the installation is fairly simple. We mount to where the factory tow hooks are. And then we have a simple bracket that goes through the grill, so you don't have to remove anything to install it.
Okay, so like the picture we're looking at right now, the tow hooks below, that's not part of the bumper. That's actually on part of the chassis.
The shackles are an
Tow
aftermarket
hooks.
shackle,
Yeah, okay.
but the mount is for those. So we've moved
Got
it
it.
forward about 9-10 inches, so it makes it a little easier to get to your recovery points. But you will have to add the shackles,
Okay.
whatever you desire.
But you have
Black,
the tow
blue,
hook.
green.
So you have the shackle mount that's accessible. It's a better accessible point, access point for recovery than what the factory has. Are there any factory recovery points on that from the Land Cruiser?
Yes, there are.
Okay. But this makes it a little bit more accessible, as it
Correct.
were. And it looks like you had a lot of lights up on there. On that note, those lights that we have up there, those don't come with the bull bar, of course, but how many mounting points does this application have for lighting?
Well, we have 6 mounts. So we have 2 on top of each of the cross tubes and then 2 on the bottom. So you could put a different combination of lights. However, we liked this set due to where the sensors and cameras are on the vehicle. It allowed us better access for visibility in the cameras and everything. So we actually preferred the the 4 6-inch rigid lights and then the light bar.
Okay. So you want to get into the text and specs on that, like material wise, tube sizes, any of that?
Well, all of the uprights are all 3/16 steel. We have some 1/4-inch steel at the bottom with a backing plate to make sure that we are compliant with the tow hooks. So we've really beefed it up around the tow hooks to make sure we have the strength to pull this out of a ditch or mud or whatever it is.
Does this one also feature a winch mount location?
No, we have not
Okay.
incorporated a winch mount into it.
Okay. And what about using any factory components? Like, does this integrate well with what comes on the LC250? Like, I didn't really see it. Is there a belly pan from the factory or?
Yes, they have some pretty decent uh, skid plates on the vehicle from the factory. So we didn't, we worked around all the factory skid plates.
Okay. So James, did you work on this project or did you work more on the bumpers for the Subaru platforms?
I worked more on the bumper for the Subaru, but I did work with this project as well.
Was there anything that you learned from the Subaru bumpers that you kind of brought to the design concept of this particular application on the Land Cruiser?
I don't know if it's anything that we really learned. I think it's something that's kind of the core ethos of AFE is we do bolt-on products that you don't have to modify your vehicle to install. And was a core thing with the Toyota and a core value for the Subaru.
So on this application, there's no modifications. This bolts right up to the stock mounting points or stock location. So you just kind of no cutting, no drilling.
No cutting, no drilling. Real simple installation.
Very clean piece. Got a lot of compliments at the SEMA show. A lot of people came by and thought that was a factory option. A couple people actually asked, they had their Land Cruisers on order from their local dealerships and thought this came as an option, like a TRD package or something, and said, nope, this is all AFE. So that's a really nice piece, and that's a really great compliment when people think that it looks like it belongs with the vehicle. And that's something we've always, like you mentioned, our ethos is not just with the exterior products, but intakes, exhaust, all the products that you guys touch and get involved with. You definitely make sure that it's the fit and finish is right there, is spot on. So that's awesome. So kind of jumping back over to some of the bumpers for the other vehicles. So some of those bumpers you do offer winch mounts. What size or type of winch actually works on those applications? Is there a specific size or dimension?
So when we did the winch mounts for the Subarus, we decided to go with a 5,500-pound winch. So that bolt pattern is very common for Warn 5,500, the Badland Apex 5,500. They all have a 3-inch by 6.6-inch mounting pattern. So you can basically mount any aftermarket winch that's of that carrying that winch capacity.
Okay, that's good to know because I have had that question asked before. What size winch? And I'm not a winch person. I didn't know, so that's really good to have that in the
The winch
text.
manufacturers actually have the bolt pattern on their sites and stuff. So we're actually going to add an image on our information to indicate what the bolt pattern is. So that'll help with future questions.
Oh, great idea. Thank you. That will definitely help a lot. So do the bumpers come with any other accessories? I know we kind of covered it a little bit, but maybe we can go a little bit more deeper on that. So I know some come with winch mounts, some do not. Some come with a skid plate. Either one of you want to field that question?
So what we did is when we added a winch, we include a front skid plate. We wanted to get a little more strength out of the part, make sure that we tied everything in really well, make sure that winch is going to hold. So we actually included the front skid plate. The engine skid plates are sold separately, and the front skid plate is sold separately for the bumpers that do not have a winch. So you don't have to have the skid plates, but you can buy them as an option on the one without the winch.
Is there any other accessories that come with it? I think I noticed on one of them there's like some light tabs or mounting points. Is that included?
We have light tabs. We have 4 light tabs for the winch bumper with a winch mount, and we have 6 light tabs for the bumpers without a winch. But that's about it. And the shackle mounts, so you can put your own shackles and move the recovery points out farther forward.
So the light tabs or the adjustable light tabs, is that an accessory you can buy separately, or is that included? Or
those are not adjustable light tabs. The light tabs are welded onto the tubes. We do sell a relocation light tab that will move the light about 2.5 inches anywhere from the welded on tab. We found that helped in some cases to move the lights forward. Some lights are deeper than other lights, so it just allowed us a little more flexibility in moving lights around and getting them where we wanted them. So it's a fairly simple item. I don't remember the part number, but it is part of the TerraGuard line.
yeah, I kind of see this as an ongoing thing of more part numbers to come that would complement a lot of these products that you guys are cranking out here. On that bumper, is that something you can actually tow from? I know you have the mounting points, or excuse me, the tow hook or the shackle mounting points. Can you actually recover the vehicle by just hooking up to the bumper or by the tow hook and pulling
Well,
it
I would
out?
have no problem with throwing a soft shackle mount around the tube. It's 1/8 inch wall, 1.5 inch tubing, so it would handle being pulled out that way. James, what do you think?
I mean, that was the whole intent when we designed this, was to get away from the factory screw-in recovery point where, that's typically a welded in nutsert that I've seen them fail, and when they fail, they damage your vehicle, where this is designed to take the load down to the engine cradle. And so when you're actually doing recovery work, you're pulling from the lower parts of the suspension assembly. It kind of helps get the vehicle out of some stuck situations. And if you're in a area that you've got a stream or some muddy area, you're not having to dig underneath the car to go get a soft shackle to a control arm. You're right there. You can access your recovery point right in the front of the vehicle.
Yeah, I noticed that when looking at the picture, that bar just extends underneath the front bumper and into the front section of the chassis. As you guys mentioned, it looks like it's pretty thick wall tubular steel, great mounting points, great recovery points. That skid plate that is shown in this picture, that's sold separately, or does that one actually come with this actual model?
That one is included with the bumpers with the winch. So those, it is available as an accessory if you elect to buy the bumper without the winch mount, but the bumpers with the winch mount will include that skid plate that's shown.
Nice. Yeah, that looks pretty. How thick is that skid plate?
It's 1/4 inch aluminum, so it's really quite durable. And the intent is to do two things. Is one's to make the whole assembly a little more rigid. So if you are winching off of it, it's providing more uh, pathways for the winch load to get transferred into the chassis and not damage the vehicle. It's also there to protect the front cross member for any, debris. If you're heading down a rock trail, usually even off-road, the center is always the high point. All the wheels make two wheel lines, and you got a center point that's high, and the skid plate will prevent any like rocks and debris getting stuck up and hammering your front cross member.
So, James, we really haven't talked about what you do non-office hours, but you're an off-roader yourself.
Oh,
Is,
yeah.
is this something that you could definitely use on your adventures? I mean, have you been stuck or been in that situation where you could really have used a skid plate or a bumper like this on your
Oh,
vehicle?
I've been in many recovery situation over the years. Yes.
I think that's probably what all prompted you guys to come up with the tow hooks for the Tundra. As soon as you found out there wasn't those didn't come from the factory. Um, so the skid plates or something, is that something you guys are going to expand on? Like you have more applications for the skid plates?
We are offering an engine skid plate for the later model current gen Subaru uh, Outback. So that's it there. So that extends a skid plate to cover up the engine area. And then we're actually working on side shields that are, be two wings, so to speak, that'll cover even more of that area. But this
Wow.
is current, and we're working on other apps that'll do an engine skid as well.
Can somebody buy just the skid plates without installing the bumper, or does that kind of go hand in hand?
This goes hand in hand with our bumper. It's part of our it's part of an expansion of the bumper project. The front mounting points are tied to our bumper mounts. Our
Okay.
Yeah, because we tied the bumpers to the cross member and the suspension, uh, we used up a lot of the area that typically would be used to mount skid plates. So other skid plates, unfortunately, other manufacturer skid plates won't work with our bumper. So
Okay.
that's why we went ahead and started offering the skid plates. And like James says, we're slowly building on that.
Mhm.
As we get these out there and people say, hey, we want this, we need a little more protection. We don't want debris up in our engine compartment. So we're working on that. We're just building upon it as we go.
That's
So
definitely a nice,
because
a nice.
I don't mind stuff up in my engine compartment, but we live in a different area. It's more dust
Yeah.
and dirt, and it's not mud and other debris that gets up in there that we don't necessarily see all of that here.
Well, I just see it as a great deterrent or protection against anything. Like if you go over a high-sided area or like a rock or any kind of obstacle in the middle, it just keeps anything from damaging anything underneath, maybe a catalytic converter, exhaust, or a line or something like that. So it looks like it serves quite a few purposes. Are these bumpers, going back to the bumpers themselves, and the skid plates, I guess, are they pretty easy to install?
Yeah,
Yes,
I mean they're completely bolt on, really straightforward to install. A few of them require nut certs to be installed, and that's probably the most difficult uh, part of the process if you've never dealt with nut certs before. But we provide a nut cert tool, and um, it's a really straightforward process.
And what, for a shop that might be watching this, how long would they quote a customer for an install time? You guys have installed plenty of these, I'm sure.
Yeah, we can install one of these in the shop, and I mean, John and I probably do one in a couple hours if we probably take us just about as long to unbox the darn thing as it does to install it on a vehicle. Um, Honestly, they're really straightforward to do. I think that, two or three billable shop hours is going to cover most of these installs.
Oh, that's pretty good. That's great for the shop. I mean, obviously they make some profit off the product, but also on the labor, and a happy customer for sure. Um, so how much weight do these bumpers add to the vehicle?
Have to- That was one I wasn't prepared for. But let me see here.
I think they're about 45 pounds. But once you start adding lights and a winch and the skid plate, I think that skid plate is about 10. The smaller one is about 7 pounds, the bigger one's about 10 pounds. So
Okay.
not so bad.
So the skid plates are fairly light, but the bumpers themselves are roughly 40 pounds, John?
I believe it's about 40 pounds, yeah.
Okay. And how well do these parts play with the factory accessories? Like with somebody that has a stock Subaru, whatever gen, if we have the application, does that bumper work with like the factory lights and cameras?
Yes, there's been no I think the Wilderness, the newer generation, has a camera up front. Um, we we have them installed on our Wilderness, and you can see the product in the camera, but you still have a good view of the terrain in front of you through the
Sure.
camera.
So these bumpers bolt on, no mods, add a little extra weight, but the return is you got a great recovery point and an awesome looking light bar. Um, and they do work with factory lights as well as the factory accessories. What about the sensors on the newer vehicles? I know more of these vehicles are coming out with a lot more electronics on them, and sometimes it can be kind of a headache, and they're kind of annoying to be honest. That's my personal opinion, but I know some people kind of
Well,
rely heavily on those sensors. Anything to do with those sensors in the bumpers?
we've had no issues or anything with the bumpers. The full bars, you can have some issues that may require some adjustments, but nothing that has been a major issue.
And I bring that up because we have talked in detail since SEMA on the LC250. It's loaded with nanny gear, our sensors and cameras. And I know you guys have been working diligently on getting all of those little tiny issues worked out. But overall, anybody who's going to be putting on an aftermarket bumper, bull bar, tire mount, a tire rack on the rear, any of those things, as soon as it starts to uh, impede any of the sensors, and at the very least, or most, I should say, it's going to just throw what a little dash message that there's something in the way and it's not really there.
Correct. It could, yes.
Yeah.
Reserve
So I
that you
don't.
can turn off.
Thank you. That's something that I personally would do myself. I don't have a lot of those bells and whistles and buzzers going off in my car just because I'm thinking about doing a lane change, or if I'm losing a little bit of traction. But that's another webinar. So great news. These bumpers bolt up. Uh, Nice install times, nice applications. You guys have thought these parts through. Um, what's the warranty on these bumpers? Do they come with one, or people are
Well,
going
as
to
with
tear them
all of
up?
our products, it's a 2-year warranty on the product
Okay. Do
for
they
any
come in?
defects.
I actually have one question that somebody sent. Is do they come in any of the colors in black? This is like Henry Ford question, but
No, but I have had other people, some people want to do a lot to do something different, and I've had 3 or 4 people let me know they were um, going to have them coated different.
Okay.
So,
And hey,
right off the bat, and they were
and
pretty happy about it.
it's not that hard to do. What kind of powder coat do these come with from AFE?
It's a fine texture black, but it's just got a little bit of a texture, so uh, covers up a lot of marks and stuff.
If you're really using it, it sounds like it's pretty durable too. It still look good even though it's out front, protecting the front bumper. Um, so kind of jumping back to like what jobbers are all more interested in about other than shop time and profit margins, does this bumpers are these bumpers, are they shipped in one package in one box, and are they oversized package? Like, is there any extra freight or fees or costs that are affiliated with shipping these bumpers out?
No, we've designed them to be shipped in a non-oversized box based on current FedEx and UPS standards. So
Wow.
that doesn't mean that going forward in the future, we might design something that's bigger, but we did a lot of redesigns on these to keep them from being oversized.
That's great. That is a big selling point right there, because I noticed, shopping online, you're looking at some of these exterior products, roof racks and tire tire mounts, spare tire mounts, bumpers. It's in glaring red block letters, subject to oversized, shipping fees. And I get it. It's a lot of people are like, costs have gone up, inflation, everything else, and for a lot of the carriers, they're kind of going after any .coms or any retailers or sellers or drop shippers of like, hey, we're going to slap on an extra $200, $300 service fee. But you guys thought ahead of the curve of trying to design it and keeping it within the confines of an oversized package. But that target always moves. So good job for taking care of that. I'm sure a lot of the distributors and dealers can appreciate that too.
Hey, Mike,
Yeah,
we had a question on our steps, the mounting,
yeah,
and so just wanted to answer those real quick.
sure, go for it.
So on the rock sliders and the steps on the Subaru, we put nutserts in all the factory holes that hold the plastic cladding on. We put a nutsert in them and bolt right to those. It mounts flush to the rocker panel to give the rocker panel protection, and wraps around the pinch rail on both the slider and the steps. So basically they're to the rocker panel. And as far as uh, the LC, the Land Cruiser, we went to the frame on that. And then on the Bronco, we ended up going to the factory mount on the inside of the rocker panel. Is that correct, James?
That's correct. Yeah, the uh, Ford Bronco had a really robust mounting solution for the um, slider that we could actually go right to the body. Where the Land Cruiser, I decided to go to the frame because the frame mounts seem to be much more rugged than the body mounts on that vehicle.
Wow,
I hope that answered that question.
yeah, those are some really nice sliders on the Bronco. Um, and they install similar to the Subaru, James?
They're completely bolt on. They have 3 brackets aside that bolt to the uh, existing factory locations, and then the slider mounts to that and also gets sandwiched in the pinch seam of the vehicle. So it actually ties right to the body very rigidly.
Nice. Yeah, those are some good questions. Thanks for submitting those, guys. Um, real quick too, I got another one that just popped up. Anything for the new Tacoma?
It's in the works.
It's in the works. Okay. Can you elaborate? Like, is it going to be a
Well, looking
slider?
at the, it'll be a bull bar very similar to what's on the Land Cruiser. They'll have a
Okay.
similar, we're trying to carry that theme. It'll be the 4 plates, basically 2 side plates and light bars and a shackle mount. So it'll look very similar. That we're doing for the Tacoma and the 4Runner. We're in process on the design, as well as the rock sliders, which would be the same. They would look almost identical to what you've seen on the Bronco and the Land Cruiser. We're carrying those themes across on all of the products.
Very cool. So bumper for the Tacoma, rock slider for the Tacoma.
Yeah.
And James, what other vehicles are you guys looking at? I know you mentioned a few of them already, Tacoma, obviously, and 4Runner. Any other vehicles?
Well, we're looking to expand our Subaru lineup, so we'll be going to the current gen of the Crosstrek at some point and hitting that, and then expanding to the current gen Outback and the non-wilderness model. And then we have some products that we're working on for 1500 or series trucks, so F-150, and we're looking to get into, Dodge Ram and other full-size pickup trucks for some lighting accessories.
Wow, you guys gotta have your plate full. I've heard John come up with a couple things on his short list of things to do, and you got a full bucket. So you guys are gonna be busy in 2025 and beyond. Tierney was actually showing up some of that install video on one of the questions on how the sliders and the rock sliders and the steps were mounted onto the Subaru. You guys have to check out that video. It's very, very informative and very in depth. The guys did a lot of work and effort in making it as simple as possible to install. There's a few people, if you go out into YouTube land, and there's a couple of influencers out there that have picked up our product and definitely gave us 2 thumbs up on the design process and the installation process. So John, James, great job again as always on these products. Looks like we're about out of time. Gonna wrap it up. Oh, I did have one more question that did pop up. Rudy from Real Truck was asking if you guys were going to work on any more exterior products for like quarter-ton trucks.
Well, if you're talking about the Tacoma, we already said we're doing that. The Colorado Ranger, yes, we will be, but they may be a little later this year.
Okay, so not as in
Same,
demand, but
same.
they're
Well, there's only so much time.
I get it.
So I would love to hit all of them right away, but we will get to them.
So if you're in the market, or if you're a shop, or you're in the trade, keep hitting us up. Let us know what you think are priorities out there, because everybody's going to be different. But we're going to go on the path of least resistance. The guys are working 24/7, developing these great products. So we'd love to hear some feedback on where you think we should be going. But they have their list. It can always be skewed a little bit. But yeah, it looks like we're out of time. But I want to thank everybody for joining us. John, James, thank you for taking the questions and the time out today. And again, your busy schedule, busy guys. Hope everyone out there learned a little bit about TerraGuard product, particularly the bumpers. Keep those questions coming. We really do appreciate all the feedback. Just send us an email or DM us, or leave us a comment here on this webinar. And as Terry mentioned at the beginning of this session, please take a look at your emails. You'll have links to future webinars, and we definitely appreciate when you forward those to your staff and other people that might be interested in checking us out and learning more about the AFE products. Another quick two things. Any other information you're looking for on any of the products or what we just talked about today, go to afepower.com. And this year we are going back to Overland West. We will be out at Flagstaff, Arizona, same location as we were last year, where we were able to debut a lot of our products, our TerraGuard products, at this show, as we talked about today. We will be attending the show May 16th and 18th at the Fort Tuthill County Park in Flagstaff, Arizona. The space is P as in Paul 40. So if you're going out there this year, check us out. You'll learn a lot more about our products and ask any questions you have. Terra?
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining us today. I'll send up a follow-up email with this webinar that you could share with your team members if they were not able to make it. Also, just reminding, we do have a blog site that we update with new products daily and different platform spotlights if you want to learn more about the 3 builds that we had on SEMA. So I linked that into the chat. Also, if you want to see any past webinars, that's also on the blog and also on the dealer site. So I'll put that in the link in the chat now. So yeah, keep the questions going. And if you have any requests for webinars, anything that you feel that your customers are interested in, if you have your finger on the pulse of what your customers are wanting, what they're asking, especially about, product demand, applications, and all that stuff, please shoot us an email. You could reply to any of the webinar emails, and your feedback is greatly appreciated. So thank you, everyone, and have a good day.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.